Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 258 based on novel. So let's start. Xiao Yan left the auction house and headed towards the Alchemist Association, but the two were far apart, so it must have taken some time, and while Xiao Yan was on his way, there was a shocking scene in Lei Cheng. A rather mysterious place in Lei Cheng. Surrounded by thunder clouds all day long, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is much denser than any other place, and cultivating here is tantamount to cultivating in a holy place for the cultivators of the thunder attribute. One of the attributes of destruction, thus becoming the ruler of Eastern Continent. Forged Knife Thunder Valley. Although it has been rumored that the entrance to Thunder Valley, the dominant force in Dongju, is in Thunder City, almost no one knows its specific entrance. At this time, at the core of the Forged Blade Thunder Valley, a lot of powerhouses have already gathered. In a rather important valley in the Thunder Valley of Forging Knives, several tyrannical breaths slowly emanated. In this valley, there is a flat square. The square is circular, and circles of circular ripples are slowly projected towards the center of the square. At this time, a total of 8 seats are slowly arranged in a certain order on the square. Standing on the periphery of the square, there are already 6 figures on the seats, and there are 2 seats that are empty. As for the center of the square, a man with a figure slowly comes into everyone's sight. This man was covered with silver armor all over his body. On top of the armor, layers of mysterious silver runes seemed to carry some extremely mysterious power to protect the man. Behind the man, a silver gold cloak added to the man his overlord aura. Above the silver gold cloak, also contained some mysterious runes, surrounded by rather strange silver thunder, which pushed the man's aura to the limit. At this time, throughout the valley, the sound of sharpening weapons and thunder could be heard everywhere. Hey, Thunder Valley Master, I haven't seen you for a long time. Your old strength seems to have increased a lot. At this time, one of the 6 seats was the first to speak. This is the owner of the auction house. His strength has reached the level of 4-star fighting immortals, and he is dressed in cyan robes, all revealing a refined atmosphere, but even so, no one dares to underestimate him. After all, this guy is an auction house. Xingzhu, in terms of identity, the status is extremely tyrannical. As the owner of the auction house, he is also good at dealing with people, so he was the first to speak. Haha, the owner of the auction house, you have won the prize. Your strength seems to have improved a lot. The man in the silver cloak smiled slowly. The voice just came out, and it was like the sound of thunder, which came into everyone's ears, and everyone couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Out of the customs, it seems to be more arrogant. The strength of the owner of the valley is really becoming more and more unfathomable. With the owner of the valley, our East Continent will become the first of the 4 continents, and it is just around the corner. The auction house owner Zaidu said. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Now there are 6 sects gathered here, but there are still 2 sects that are too late, and I don't know what the Valley Master is looking for from us. Why don't we start first? The burly man on the other seat stood up and said. The person who spoke at this time was a burly man with a burly body, standing slowly in front of everyone, and his aura was not weak, but he also reached the strength of the 4-star fighting immortal level, the president of the Mercenary Union. Everyone, don't be impatient, it's a matter of great importance, let's wait. The man in the silver cloak said. After speaking, it was quiet here, and everyone was thinking about something. Here, it is the inside of the Thunder Valley of Forged Knives, the Valley of Forged Knives, and now gathered here are the 8 famous minds of the 8 great forces in the entire Thunder City. Auction. Alchemist Association. Mercenary Union. Wooden Pavilion. Bloodcloth Sect. The 6 Holy Religion. Ice Soul Palace. Fenghua Valley. A full 8 superpowers. It can be said unceremoniously that these 8 forces are the most famous forces in Lei Cheng, and they even have quite a good reputation in the entire Eastern Continent. And among the minds of these 8 forces, the lowest strength is also the 4-star fighting immortal level. Now that the master of Forged Thunder Valley has gathered them here, I am afraid there is no plan. The Valley of Forged Knives can be regarded as the true holy place of Thunder Valley of Forged Knives. At this time, there are no outsiders here except for them. I am afraid that the owner of Thunder Valley of Forged Knives has summoned them to discuss something. The man in the silver cloak is the true overlord of the entire Eastern Continent today, the master of the Thunder Valley Valley. He was the one who spent a lot of money to build it for himself. It is said that with the increase in armor and cloak, his strength is probably invincible among the 5-star fighting immortals. The minds of Fenghuagu and Muge haven't come yet. After a while, a man in gorgeous clothes said slightly when he saw the Valley Master speak. Don't look at this guy's smiling face, but the terrifying aura emanating from his whole body is chilling. This is an alchemist, and his rank is not low. This person is the president of the Lei Cheng Alchemist Association. Although everyone present is also ranked among the 4-star fighting immortals, the rank of the president of the Alchemist Association is a 5th-rank alchemist of the immortal rank. A pharmacist of this level is undoubtedly it can make the 5-star fighting immortals treat them with respect. The president of the Alchemist Association really likes to joke. It's just that we encountered some other things on the way, so we delayed a little time. Just when the president of the Alchemist Association finished his words, the void around the circular square suddenly trembled strangely, and then a wave of spatial fluctuations slowed down. Slowly it came out, and suddenly a thin figure wrapped in evil black energy was thrown out, and 2 women walked out. The aura on the 2 women is also extremely terrifying. The 2 women's faces are quite soft, but the murderous intent hidden under the softness makes people shudder. This is Sinner. The other 6 powerhouses who were present saw this, but looked at the sinner who was thrown to the ground like a dead dog in front of him, and said in shock. Although the strength of this sinner is only at the 3-star Dozian perfection level, but through him, the top powerhouses above the East continent can detect the den of sin, and thus bring them all together. If Xiao Yang were here, he would definitely know that the guy in front of him was the old man who asked for directions back then. Among the disciples who signed up for the Dongju competition, there was one person with good strength, but this guy was eyeing him. We happened to pass by and we solved it easily. The pavilion master of the wooden pavilion said slowly. At this moment, the minds of the 8 superpowers, together with the master of the Thunder Valley, a total of 9 people, 3 women and 6 men, all gathered here, plotting something. To be caught by the pavilion master of the wooden pavilion, it's really a misstep. Being bound to the ground by the blue wood attribute vindictiveness, the sinner immediately glanced at the few people present and found that none of them could be beaten by himself. And based on his information, he naturally knew that those gathered here were the most tyrannical forces in the entire Eastern continent. I don't know what title you are, but let's talk about it. Your sin is in our stronghold of Yinhunshan. The owner of the auction house smiled directly. He knew that it was almost impossible to completely eradicate the power of sin, because they obtained it by allegiance to the evil races outside the realm. The huge power and this extreme method have caused too many people who want to get something for nothing, and what they need to do is to remove the stronghold of sin in the shadowy sky. Among the criminals, the most low-level ones are surprisingly small ones, whose strength is only below Dozian. 1-star Dozian to 3-star Dozian is also called a sinner, and 4-star Dozian to 5-star Dozian strength is also known as for sinners. Every den of sin will be guarded by a sinner, and the strength of the sinner is tyrannical. I am afraid they know a lot about the evil race outside the territory, so the strong people above the East continent, they want to pass the sinner, thus knowing the movements of the aliens. After all the First World War has passed, the aliens are still so quiet, which makes them vaguely uneasy. That's why I called you. Ask him first, said the Valley Master of Thunder Valley. Humph. You old bastards, it is impossible for you to be the opponent of the foreign evil clan. Sooner or later, the foreign evil clan will come to the Dakian world, thus completely obliterating the Dakian world and forming our dream home. Ha ha ha. The criminal fell directly on the square and laughed wildly. It's really an annoying fly. Hearing a mere 3-star fighting immortal being so arrogant here, the president of the Alchemist Association couldn't help but snorted coldly, and a dazzling soul force directly blocked the voice of the sinner. President of the Alchemist Association, I heard that alchemists can use their soul power to probe other people's memories. Please do some research and waste our time for free, said the owner of the auction house. Yes. The president of the Alchemist Association nodded slightly. Following the promise of the president of the Alchemist Association, several other strong men immediately cast their gazes at the president of the Alchemist Association. After all, a strong man of this level uses soul power, but seeing it is better than seeing it. Damn. What do you want to do? And the sinner was originally not afraid of the old man. Sooner or later, you will be swallowed up by the evil clan from outside the territory. Watching the president of the Alchemist Association go to him, he couldn't help but look on his face. Get weird. You don't need to think about it to know that this guy can be respected by so many strong people, and the huge degree of his soul power is probably not something that a sinner can resist. Tear. With a sound, the president of the Alchemist Association burst out with his dazzling soul power, and at that time, the strange black aura shrouded in the sinner was directly expelled, revealing its original appearance. Without the hindrance of the strange black aura, the sinner suddenly revealed a rather handsome man's face, but there was a trace of evil aura flowing in his eyes. Obviously he was terminally ill, and even a genius doctor couldn't save him. A living human being, but working for the alien race. It's right to die. The president of the mercenary guild also snorted coldly. Obviously, the mercenary guild was interested in loyalty, and they disliked this kind of guy who betrayed his teammates for strength. The president of the Alchemist Association naturally ignored this, closed his eyes slightly, and then walked away from the sinner's body. The dazzling soul power was enough to let him explore the sinner's memory as if he were walking on the ground. Wang buzzing. Just when the president of the Alchemist Association entered the depths of the sinner's brain, he triggered the protection measures of the extraterritorial evil clan inside the sinner's body, which made the sky in the valley extremely clear. But it became strange in an instant, and the dark and evil black chi kept oscillating out of the valley. In those black thunderclouds, every beat carries an earth-shattering force of destruction. It seems that a small man has attracted a very important person. And just after the evil dark cloud appeared, the silver armor of the forged knife Thunder Valley Lord, who stood in the center of the square, exuded the tyrannical power of thunder, and even the silver gold cloak exudes a tyrannical power, roaring at the evil dark clouds in the sky. Du and Tianhong. You guys are quite lively here, huh? In that strange dark cloud, lightning flashed and thunder, and the voice of the silver bell class sounded slowly. It's just that with the sound of this sound, the 8 powerful men in the entire valley are all standing with cold hairs, as if they have been stimulated by some kind of stimulation, and the valley master of the forged knife Thunder Valley, even if he relies on the treasured weapon on his body, is quite impressive. For strenuous. This guy, I am afraid that among the evil races outside the territory, is also the most top-notch powerhouse. The master of the forged knife Thunder Valley said slowly, but it was rather strange why she knew her name. It seems that he has never come into contact with this level of extraterritorial evil powerhouse. I just happened to be passing by, but I have to warn you in advance. The ghost world is in turmoil. If you are in the wrong team, I'm afraid you will also bring your own destruction. Lord Li Hun's debt, I will make him pay it off completely sooner or later. The shadow in the evil dark cloud finished speaking slowly, and suddenly disappeared like a cloud of smoke. With the disappearance of the mysterious guy, the 8 powerhouses breathed a sigh of relief. The oppression just now was too tyrannical. If it wasn't for the sword-forging Thunder Valley Master relying on his armor and the cloak removed most of the oppression, I am afraid that they will all be oppressed and kneel down. That guy just now. The owner of the auction house looked a little ugly and couldn't help asking. With their 8 and 4 fighting immortal level powerhouses, plus a 5-star fighting immortal level powerhouse, although the guy didn't make a move, from the perspective of oppression alone, I am afraid that in front of that guy, 9 of them, 1 of them, can't take it. That guy should be the supreme leader of the alien race. But what he said just now may have something to do with us. And seeing that she is so aggressive, I'm afraid she is going towards the Lord of the Soul. The battle of the top powerhouses is not something we can mix. We should just do our part. The Valley Master of Forge Thunder Valley also said with lingering fears. There is news of Sin. It seems that they will fight against our East Continent ratio this time. At this moment, the sinner was instantly wiped out, and not even a trace of soul remained. Some things, if that's the case, will be easy to deal with. Everyone heard the words, in a deep voice, nervously discussing the plan, and with the president of the Alchemist Association, the disappearance of this sin that caused death to fall will naturally not spread. Sin is stationed in the ears of the strong in the Eastern Continent stronghold. This time, I am afraid that the forces of Dongju stronghold Sin will usher in a real defeat, but they don't know it at all. Grumbling. What's the situation? And with the kind of thing that happened in the sword-forging Thunder Valley, Xiao Yan was still on his way to the Alchemist Association, but at this time, with the departure of the Soul Eater talisman, in the acceptance ring the Blood River Bell is sending out an extremely dangerous signal. Be careful, there is someone from outside the realm who appears here. Although it is not the main body, I am afraid it is just an energy clone, but an energy clone is enough to easily obliterate everyone here. The Lord of Soul Eater also felt the fluctuations from the Blood River Bell, and said solemnly, it is obvious that it can be eaten by Soul Eater. The Lord treats him so solemnly, and his strength may have reached the pinnacle. Xiao Yang nodded, lowered his breath, and walked away slightly towards the Alchemist Association. Fortunately, after just a few breaths, the aura of the supreme being of the foreign evil race disappeared. Otherwise, the ratio of East Continent in this Lei city, I am afraid there is no need to carry out. Master, the aura of the supreme being of the evil clan just now. Xiao Yang couldn't help but ask. That's the breath of a light demon. The demon of light and the Lord of Li Soul have a very deep relationship. I am afraid that this time, it is her who will take revenge. The Lord of Soul Eater smiled mysteriously, and suddenly disappeared. Xiao Yang was also helpless, so he could only slowly walk towards the Alchemist Association. About Mo continued to walk for a few minutes, and suddenly came to the site of the Alchemist Association, and saw a behemoth slowly standing in front of him. But Xiao Yang was also a little depressed. The auction house and the Alchemist Association, one is in the northernmost, and the other is in the southernmost, quite far away. The Alchemist Association. In the huge building, 5 splendid big characters slowly stood on the plaque at the main entrance. It's really a big hand. Xiao Yangguang swept away like that, and found something wrong. On the plaque, there is actually an extremely tyrannical pressure on the soul. Outsiders may not be able to see it, but Xiao Yang revealed it at a glance. Although the entire Alchemist Association was extremely luxurious, according to Xiao Yang's perception, no one entered or exited the door of the Alchemist Association, which seemed extremely desolate. Let's go. Xiao Yang tied it up a little, and then slowly stepped in towards the main entrance of the Alchemist Association. Xiao Yang just stepped on the steps and walked towards the main entrance, and suddenly found that a pressure filled his body, and this pressure was more like the coercion of soul power, and its source was probably the emanating from the plaque. Xiao Yang saw this. Without any pause, he moved his figure, and then suddenly walked towards it. After all, Xiao Yang is the soul of the Fairyland, and this level of soul suppression can only deal with those who are not strong enough for the soul of the Fairyland. The alchemist was effective, and it was a little too late to deal with Xiao Yang. Is there anyone? Xiao Yang walked into the Alchemist Association directly under pressure, but although the interior was extremely luxurious, there was no one. Respected pharmacist, what can help you? Just when Xiao Yang was a little depressed, a figure slowly stepped out from the side and came to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang looked up and saw this handsome figure, dressed in black professional attire, with a professional smile and a slender figure. His temperament was quite elegant. I want to identify the level of the alchemist. Xiao Yang did not hesitate too much, and said directly, after all, according to Xiao Yang's perception, this shadow is probably the person in charge of the Alchemist Association. Stunned. Identify the level of pharmacists. When Qian Ying heard the words, the smile on her face froze slightly. Obviously, she did not expect someone to appraise the level of pharmacists. You must know that pharmacists in Lei Cheng are all hands-on teachings, and there are very few people who come alone. What? Can't you? That's really a pity. A trace of pity appeared on Xiao Yang's face, and then he moved slightly and walked towards the outside. Sir, wait a minute. We are the Alchemist Association here, so it is natural to identify the alchemist level. I don't know what level of pharmacist you want to identify. Qian Ying asked slowly. The 4th rank of immortal rank. As for the 3rd rank of heaven and earth, it depends on my luck. Xiao Yang smiled slowly. What? Identify the 4th grade immortal pharmacist. Qian Ying was slightly shocked when she heard the words, because she had received countless powerhouses in the Alchemist Association. Naturally, she knew that the 4th grade immortal alchemist was the most basic pharmacist, is the soul of Fairyland. And the power of the soul is one of the most cultivated powers in the world, so when the man in front of him spoke, the woman couldn't help but be surprised. Sir, wait a moment, I'll ask the vice president to come out. The woman did not dare to neglect, and went directly to the alchemist cabinet. Who? I don't know which level I can reach the 4th rank of immortal rank this time. Xiao Yang stood quietly, but he took off his black robe when he entered the Alchemist Association. Revealing. Master, this time I went to the auction house to buy medicinal herbs, and I met a guy with extremely terrifying soul power. I'm afraid he has already reached the Fairyland. In a quiet wooden house inside the Alchemist Association, the 2 figures were talking slowly. One was the man who had a conflict with Xiao Yang at the entrance of the auction house, and the other was an old man with white hair. He looked bright and even had a faint aura on his body, which made people feel uncomfortable. Shudder. Recently, it was the ratio of Dongju, and the strong handed it out, so be careful. Looking at it, he said softly, yes. The man nodded lightly. Dong dong dong. Not long after, Qian Ying just came to the cabinet, and suddenly tapped into a wooden house. It's Sister Yu, I don't know why she's here. Hearing the hurried knock on the door, the man immediately found the person coming. Sister Wang, whose real name is Wang Fengcheng, has been living in the Lei Cheng Alchemist Association, and she does the work of receiving guests for them. She is also quite popular with the members of the Alchemist Association. Mr. Vice President. Sister Wang said respectfully. The two people in the wooden house, one is the current vice president of the Alchemist Association, Tan Chen, the strength of the 4-star fighting immortal early stage, plus another layer, the 5th grade celestial alchemist, such a dual identity, yet he also has quite a status in the entire Thunder City. As for the man who went to the auction house to buy medicinal herbs, his name was Hua Fei. He was a strong man who had just reached the late stage of the 2-star Dozian. He was also a disciple of Tan Chen. The strong of the strong. Sister Wang, what's wrong? Hua Fei asked first. Vice President, a man has come to the association. It is said to be firm in the level of alchemist. Sister Wang said respectfully. Appraisal of the alchemist level. It's really been a long time since it was so lively. I wonder what level of alchemist he wants to appraise. Tan Chen said with a smile. Bang bang bang. Just as the extremely figures in the cabinet were talking, a crisp sound slowly sounded. 4th rank of immortal rank. Before Sister Wang finished speaking, Tan Chen looked into the distance and murmured. Bang bang bang. At this time, the cabinet where Tan Chen and the others were located, the sound of shattering could be heard incessantly. Master. Seeing this, Hua Fei frowned. Obviously, this movement came from the hall of the Alchemist Association. Let's go and have a look. There are very few people in the Alchemist Association. This kind of movement is probably made by the guy who wants to identify the level of alchemists. Judging from the power of the soul, I am afraid that it is more tyrannical than you, Hua Fei. Tan Chen finished speaking, stepping forward. The steps went directly from the cabinet towards the hall of the Alchemist Association, and the other two followed. And Xiao Yang, who was standing quietly in the hall, heard the sound of breaking and couldn't help but curse it secretly. This voice was produced by himself, and the reason for it was that Xiao Yang used his soul power to fight against the plaque with the tyrannical soul coercion. In the end, Xiao Yang had the upper hand, but the plaque also exuded some rare cracks. Soul coercion arranged by alchemists at the immortal rank 5th grade level is so vulnerable. Xiao Yang said helplessly. Coercion is the arrangement of the immortal rank 5th grade alchemist, which has a certain catalytic effect on one's own soul power. You can't say the same thing. After all, this is just a plaque, and it can't carry much soul power. The Lord of Soul Eater smiled. Hey, Tan Chen, the vice president of the Old Man Alchemist Association, is the little friend who wants to appraise the pharmacist's level, right? Tan Chen and the three of them just came to the hall, and Tan Chen laughed. Strange, the aura on this kid seems to be a little familiar. Hua Fei on the side slowly stared at Xiao Yang, trying to recall where he seemed to have seen him. However, Hua Fei did not know that when he and Xiao Yang fought at the auction house, Xiao Yang was covered in black robes and soul power, so no matter what Hua Fei did, he would not be able to find out who was standing in front of him at this time. The man in black who fought in the auction house. It's actually him. His soul power. I am afraid he has reached the Fairyland. If there is no accident, I am afraid that he is also an immortal pharmacist. Xiao Yang saw the three people appear, and recognized Hua Fei at a glance, and muttered. Senior Tan Chen is good. The soul power of this junior has just reached the Fairyland. I want to try to see if I can be successfully assessed as an immortal pharmacist. Xiao Yang coughed dryly. Hey, your soul power doesn't look like a guy who has just been promoted to Fairyland Soul. Tan Chen noticed the crack on the plaque with just a glance, then turned his head and said to Hua Fei. Master, this guy is very strong, but I always feel that I have encountered it somewhere. Hua Fei said in a low voice. Does your little friend have a hand letter from your tutor? The next moment, Tan Chen ignored his apprentice's voice and asked Xiao Yang with a smile. It is no wonder that Tan Chen is like this. Xiao Yang can break the soul pressure on the plaque, which is enough to show that this guy's soul power cannot just reach the Fairyland. I am afraid it is above the Fairyland, and the huge soul power and his age. Enough to make Tan Chen really formal. A hand letter from a teacher. Xiao Yang was stunned when he heard the words, and then his expression became strange. Obviously he didn't have such a thing. When he thought about it, it was impossible for this Thunder City to identify the level of a pharmacist without the guidance of a famous teacher. No. The tutor told me not to reveal his information before he came out, so I'm sorry. Xiao Yang said with a hint of apology. It's okay, it's okay. Tan Chen said with a smile, but he was even more curious about Xiao Yang. Entering the Alchemist Association to participate in the level assessment and other things does not require any souvenirs, but Tan Chen couldn't help but open his mouth to see who Xiao Yang taught. After all, such a tyrannical soul strength and age, the one who taught him was probably also a true monster-level powerhouse. There is less than a month before the East Continent ratio begins. I wonder if I will be able to catch up if I participate in the rank assessment. Xiao Yan worriedly asked. Don't worry, the assessment place is in a different space. There is a special space specially designed for assessment. Time flows slowly enough for you to complete the assessment easily, Tan Chen said with a smile. If that's the case, then I would like to thank the seniors. Xiao Yang folded his hands and smiled at Tan Chen. It's okay. Hua Fei, the two of you go down to prepare for the examination of the 4th grade immortal pharmacist. Tan Chen said with a smile. What level do I need to prepare for the assessment? Hua Fei asked. 4th rank of immortal rank, heaven rank and earth rank. Tan Chen said confidently. Heaven level and earth level? Hua Fei couldn't help but tremble slightly when he heard the word. Even if it is his current strength in the late 2-star fighting immortal stage, his soul power has just reached the Fairyland, and he is only a pharmacist of the 4th rank Shen rank of immortal rank, and even the failure rate of refining medicine pills is extremely high, and the Xiao Yang in front of him is a mere alchemist. The strength of the 2-star Yan in the early stage actually wanted to test a pharmacist level higher than himself, which made Hua Fei extremely surprised. You must know that the most important reason for the alchemist level is that the power of the soul is not fake, but refining medicinal pills is a protracted battle, and the consumption of fighting qi is also extremely large, so the high-level pharmacist is undoubtedly not weak. Strong. En. Sister Wang and Hua Fei didn't dare to disobey the words of the vice-chairman after hearing the words. They nodded lightly, and then retreated to the back heaven level and earth level. Vice-chairman Tan is too condescending I am. Xiao Yang heard the words, shook his head slightly and smiled. It is true that the soul today has not just reached the Fairyland. It is a little more powerful than the Fairyland soul. According to Xiao Yang's estimation, there is no problem with the 4th grade Fairy level Shen level, but the 4th grade Fairy level Earth level is still a bit difficult. After all, his strength is only it's just the early stage of the 2-star Yan, and the weakness of Do Qi will make him quite passive when refining medicine pills. My disciple has already gone down to prepare the assessment items. Little friend, please wait a moment. Tan Chen said with a smile. It's okay. Xiao Yang nodded lightly, not in a hurry. The little guy is also here to participate in the competition of Dongju? At the next moment, Tan Chen finally couldn't bear the doubts in his heart and said, That's right. My goal is to win Dongju this time. Xiao Yang did not shy away, he smiled directly. He, with such a tyrannical soul strength and fighting spirit, it's not difficult to win. Tan Chen also looked wily. Senior should know the specifics of the Dongju ratio this time, right? Xiao Yang asked with a smile. I know if I know. But I'll wait until you pass the assessment. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it, don't let me down. After Tan Chen finished speaking, his eyes slowly became hot, and Xiao Yang was also a little bit looking forward to it. What a look. Teacher, the assessment is ready. After a while, Xiao Yang and Tan Chen chatted in the hall, and Hua Fei returned here by himself, and said respectfully, but Xiao Yang clearly smelled this guy. When there is another breath, that kind of breath is extremely powerful like nothingness. Let's go, little guy. Tan Chen nodded slowly when he heard the words. Okay, I just don't know where the assessment site is. Xiao Yang asked. Because refining medicine pills and evaluating pharmacists are not trivial matters, if they are disturbed by outsiders, it is very easy to get into trouble, and according to the results obtained by Xiao Yang's soul power, it seems that there is no place for evaluation in the Pharmacist Association. Hey. After all, this is Lei Cheng, the head of the entire Eastern Continent, and our Alchemist Association. In order to prevent accidents from being disturbed by others, our ancestors have already figured out how to deal with it. Tan Chen smiled slowly, then moved. As soon as Xiao Yang finished speaking, before he could open his eyes, he felt that a dazzling space force suddenly surged up in Tan Chen, and then turned into a stream of light, covering the three of them, and the next moment they actually escaped directly. After entering the Alchemist Association, he headed towards a mysterious place. This is the place where you will assess the 4th grade pharmacist of the immortal rank. After a few breaths, Tan Chen brought his apprentices Hua Fei and Xiao Yang to a void. This void is rather strange, without any trace of energy from heaven and earth. When he just arrived here, Xiao Yang could immediately perceive that the flow of spatial strength here is much slower than the outside world, and with such a treasured place, Xiao Yang is not afraid because of the assessment. The level of refining pharmacist delayed the ratio of Dongju. This guy. Seeing this, Hua Fei shook his head helplessly, because he knew that his teacher was the second alchemist in the entire Thunder City. How cold he was on weekdays, he was almost a rigid face to outsiders, but to Xiao Yang was so enthusiastic, which made Hua Fei feel a little more envious of Xiao Yang. After all, Hua Fei knew his master's pride. If he wanted him to bow his head, then only, he was better than him. This place is really a good space. Xiao Yang glanced around, and was suddenly surprised by something in this void. At this time, the three of them stood in a void. In front of the void, a behemoth was slowly standing in front of him. The behemoth was like a huge medicine refining cauldron, with vents and even an invisible and extremely terrifying cauldron soul power, completely shrouded it, so that outsiders can't get close. This kind of big means of storing the alchemist association in the void is probably only the alchemist who is rich enough to be able to do it. This is the base camp of our alchemist association. The outside is just to deal with some little guys. After Tan Chen finished speaking, he waved his palm lightly, and suddenly an extremely powerful suction force directly sucked the three people into it. Vice President, the assessment of the 4th grade immortal pharmacist is ready. Just as the three of them stepped into the building that looked like a medicine cauldron, Sister Wang's voice came slowly. It's time for work, Tan Chen said, and then took the crowd directly to the assessment site. It has to be said that this is like a medicine refining cauldron headquarters. The interior is extremely complex, occupying intricately, and even the huge and tyrannical soul power emerges endlessly. There are a lot of faint explosions. Presumably some refining medicine masters are refining issued by the medicine pill. Just here. Not many, the four of them, led by Tan Chen, crossed several paths and came to a stone gate. The stone gate was tightly closed. It seemed that some tyrannical force was suppressed inside, and the surrounding stone gate are all wrapped by countless huge forces, which are strictly protected here. This is the first step in your assessment. Soul strength. Tan Chen pointed his finger lightly at the stone gate, and the corner of his mouth moved. As we all know, the alchemist is a special profession for casting magical medicines, but the higher the level of this profession, the more powerful the energy. But it is rude to say, don't look at Tan Chen's immortal rank 5th grade pharmacist. Even today's knife-forging Lei Jiu Guju should be courteous to him by 3 points. After all, every pharmacist is a hornet's nest. Poke and explode. How to test this first step? Xiao Yang looked at Shaman with dull eyes, smelled a feeling of pressure from inside, but he was still a little puzzled and asked. The necessary condition for the assessment of an alchemist of the immortal rank is that the soul power reaches the Fairyland. Although your own soul power has reached the Fairyland, the alchemist rank identified before is only the first rank of the Emperor, so this step is essential. Tan Chen explained. Master is really eccentric. Hua Fei couldn't help but whisper a few words. In the past, similar situations like Xiao Yang had happened, but they were far from where Tan Chen personally received them, and the alchemist level assessment must be from the Emperor rank, 1st rank, 2nd rank, 3rd rank step by step. This time is good. Tan Chen directly saves Xiao Yang the 2nd rank, 3rd rank assessment, and directly conducts the 4th rank assessment, although Xiao Yang himself does have this strength, but Hua Fei is still a little bit. Envy. There is a soul beast composed of soul power inside. After you enter, defeat it to prove your soul power. Tan Chen laughed. Okay. Hearing this, Xiao Yang nodded lightly. Obviously, this first step should be very simple for him, but the Alchemist Association has its own rules since ancient times, and these tedious steps cannot be omitted. Now that you know, let's get started. However, before Xiao Yang was ready, Xiao Yang only felt that his body suddenly trembled strangely, and was kicked in by Tan Chen. Crash. That shaman was also very strange. When Xiao Yang's figure approached, he suddenly swallowed the entire Xiao Yang and regained his calm. This old guy. Xiao Yang didn't expect Tan Chen to play his cards according to common sense, without any defense, and directly came to the first level. Hoo. Just after arriving in the space behind shaman, there was a sudden gust of gloomy wind blowing from nowhere, and a strange figure slowly sounded. The enemy is dark and we are clear, so be careful. Xiao Yang couldn't see the so-called soul beast at first, so he could only walk out with the power of his soul, trying to find out this dark space. Damn. The soul power that was released seems to have been swallowed up. But the soul power released by Xiao Yang was like evaporating from the world, disappearing without a trace. Interesting. Xiao Yang felt this scene, without any fear. Instead he had a strong interest. His soul power is extremely tyrannical, but he lacks the tempering and use of soul power. Now this first level can just make